We currently complete Bill's enema routine twice per week on Mondays and Thursdays, which is then followed by the shower routine, which is another part of the video training series provided by Remed. What you'll see in this video clip is a demonstration using all staff where we bring Bill in and demonstrate how to transfer him onto the bed, and then how to position him with physical support and guidance so that our nurse can administer the enema. We utilize 3 staff members to support this routine. What you don't see in the video, but what you would see on the floor, is staff wearing protective gear, which are zip-up hooded sweatshirts. Typically, we're obviously gloved, and then sometimes staff will also wear spit shields or masks in the event Bill attempts to spit, which can occur during this particular routine because it's provocative. We're bringing Bill in, setting him up for a standing and pivot transfer into the bed, which typically we'll try to support if possible with one person standing in front of Bill, being very careful to be aware that he can both kick and punch. There'll be a staff member, there'll be 2 other staff members with Bill, one in the back and one on the side, while I support him to transfer. As we've talked about at other points, it's important to engage Bill and be somewhat animated and positive in your affect. He responds well to that because we don't rely on his receptive communication in terms of understanding the direction or instruction that we're providing. If Bill is highly agitated while in the chair, we'll often, while he's still buckled in the safety belt, we'll disengage if needed, and then return 30 seconds to a minute, minute and a half later, attempt to re-engage and proceed with the routine or task. But it is important whenever Bill's in a secure situation, whether it's with the vest, as you'll see in the enema video, or rather in the other part of the video, or he's in the belt. If he's agitated, we have the opportunity to step away, and that's safest for Bill and for staff. So here in the video, you'll see me supporting Bill to stand, which is a fairly typical way this goes. Using both hands. Sometimes due to his apraxia or his receptive communication difficulties, he won't understand the commands. We provide light physical support, more or less a light physical prompt to move if needed. If he's really resistant and really confused, we wait. Again, we're trying not to provoke Bill as we're going into a sort of a complicated routine. So once Bill stands and pivots onto the bed, he'll need a little bit of help to get into the right position for the enema. He oftentimes will lay down on his bed on his back in a supine position as if he's going to bed, and he'll need some assistance at times to turn onto his side. But what we'll show in this video is Bill being turned onto, or laying in bed right onto his side. He typically needs support to get his legs up or benefits from support. And then we'll be demonstrating how, with 3 staff members, we get Bill into position and then keep him into position. Again, it's important for the enema administration for him to be side lying and for his knees to be bent so that the nurse can administer the enema effectively. You'll then see there's a staff member on either side of Bill up at his upper torso. One will be responsible for managing his outside arm by holding onto his hand to keep him in side lying, and the staff member behind Bill will be responsible providing physical support from the shoulder. Again, we don't want to be pressing down in any way. We're just holding on so that we can prevent him from striking or attempting to grab. And then you'll see what I'm demonstrating here in the video is how to position yourself so that we can get Bill's legs in as good a spot as possible for the enema administration, which is in a bent position. Sometimes he'll be fully locked, straight-legged. At that point, we do our best to try to assume a position like this, but it's best to use your knee so to prevent him from kicking, and then use your hands to prevent him from kicking back as the nurse is administering the enema. While getting Bill into position, it's not uncommon for him to be slightly agitated due to some level of confusion. Again, positive affect and interaction style is important here. It's important to know that Bill is routinely provoked once the enema is administered, so all staff should be prepared at that point to provide physical assistance and support. so that staff and Bill don't get injured during this procedure, especially the nurse who's kind of focused on her task and would be vulnerable in that sense. So be ready. The other thing that I realized we didn't demonstrate in the video is we typically have a blanket on Bill. We don't pull his briefs off as we're helping him get out of the shower chair or his Brota chair in the stand pivot transfer into bed. We leave his briefs on. If he has pants or shorts on, we take those off. But we do leave his briefs on because taking off his briefs is a highly provocative task or move, and we don't want to do that while we're getting Bill into bed. So we typically leave his briefs on, and then when the nurse administers the enema, she just pulls his briefs down a little bit in order to do so, or tears the tab on the side. The other thing we do that's helped this go successfully is, which again is not in the video, is we use a blanket. We lay the blanket over Bill sort of from mid-torso down, and we have the nurse then, just peel the blanket back so she can work from behind Bill to administer the enema. But for Bill, it's important for privacy purposes for him to be covered. That seems to help him be a little less agitated during this part of the routine. After the enema has been administered, we then carefully let the nurse disengage. Again, being aware that all the while during the enema administration, Bill is likely to be physically aggressive and potentially spit, so it's important that staff are prepared for that and in the positions demonstrated in the video. Once the enema has been administered, we have the nurse step out first. Then we typically have the staff member who's providing support from behind Bill step out second, and we're communicating throughout all of this. And then the person at the legs steps out, and then finally the person providing support to Bill at the top, the one that was managing his arms, then disengages. We usually then at that point like to pull the blanket that we have on Bill back up as if we're helping him lay in bed to rest, and then we all carefully step out and make sure that our falls equipment is prepared, which you won't see in the video, but in Bill's room he's got a falls mat under his bed that we then pull out as we're stepping out, because it's often the case that he'll then shortly after enema administration sit up and attempt to get out of bed, at which point we come back in and support Bill then to transfer into the shower chair, and then we go into the part of the procedure where we apply the safety vest. Okay, so at this point we're going to transfer Bill from the bed into the shower chair that's already prepped. As you can see, we have the vest, the safety vest on top, but just behind that we have the safety belt, and we'll talk a little bit later about why it's important to set it up that way, but this is how we sort of prepare the chair for Bill, because now he's had the enema. The idea is to transfer him into the chair for to produce a VM. There will be a bucket under the chair, and Bill can remain in the chair until he produces, and then we'll move on to the rest of the shower routine. All right, so we're going to support Bill to stand up from the bed. Oftentimes it's important to note that when he is in bed and we're waiting, sometimes he'll independently try to get up and out of bed and start to walk, and at that point we would step into his room and assist him to walk over to the chair and transfer into the chair. So sometimes he becomes restless and would only stay in bed 4, 5, 6 minutes. Sometimes he'll tolerate 15, 20, 30 minutes, so that varies. Okay, so we're going to support Bill to transfer into the chair. So similarly, if Bill's not agitated, I would be here out front. If he is agitated, I'd have Leslie probably on the other side, or Kevin on this side, just helping and assisting Bill to stand. We're going to stand up. He's going to walk a little bit with you, and then we're going to seat him into the chair. Okay, so once he's in this position, there should be a staff member on either side supporting Bill's arms while we're trying then to apply the vest, because at times he can become resistant or even agitated while this is happening. So we're going to have Leslie assist on the left side to get that hand through, okay? We're going to have Kevin assist on that side to get that hand through. Bill has to have a shirt on to do this. Can you sit forward, Cam, please? Sometimes he'll follow simple commands. Sometimes he's really much more aggressive, and therefore you need a lot of support from these two. Stay here, but as needed, they apply more physical support. Again, the blue belt's behind the vest, and then we secure the vest. And that's per the instructions with the vest. So that's a wrapping. And the way we've come to do this, just for what it's worth, we feed these in through the insides of the armrests and through the insides of
the pistons that work on the chair. So then we get the straps for the safety vest into the right position. But before you tie the vest, it's important to tilt the chair back, which gives Bill less of an opportunity to get his feet on the floor and helps us control some of the rocking and aggression that can occur. So if Bill, once he's here, then we're going to just secure the vest straps per the instructions of the vest. These two staff are remaining here the entire time to provide support so I don't get struck and Bill doesn't do something unsafe in the chair. At the point at which I have him secured in the vest, we then all step away and disengage. Sometimes we'll put the TV on or the radio on, and then we are monitoring for a BM. All right, so after Bill's produced or at the end of the interval in the protocol for sitting in the chair post-enema, we would then support Bill to prepare for the shower. So we would re-enter Bill's room while he's in the safety vest, and what we're looking to accomplish here now is to stand Bill up, remove the safety vest, have Bill stand so that we can clean him quickly, and then we're gonna pull the safety belt down, and then we're gonna sit Bill back down in the shower chair and apply the safety belt so then we can transfer him in for the shower routine. So that would look like this. We would come in, we'd be talking to Bill, engaging with Bill, we'd be untying the vest and removing the vest, and again sometimes that's going to be requiring physical hands-on because Bill might be trying to strike you as you're doing that, but we're trying to get this vest off. Once the vest is off, I'm going to give Bill a quick heads up. Hey Bill, I'm going to sit your chair up, because with abrupt movements he can become provoked. Hey Bill, I'm going to sit your chair up, so I'm going to sit his chair up. We're then going to have one person on either side of Bill. I'm trying to do that. We're going to stand Bill up. Okay, we're going to say, Bill, we're going to stand up, okay. Then this staff member is going to probably, with a wipe, is going to then clean Bill quickly. And then we're going to lay the safety belt down, okay. Right here, we're going to lay this down. And then we're going to sit Bill back down in the chair. And then we're going to apply the safety belt. Okay, can you grab that side? What is that side? Thank you, thank you. And again, once the safety belt's applied, we're going to tilt Bill back a little bit, and then he's ready to be transported into the shower. Now, quick note, oftentimes after the enema routine's done and we remove the vest, Bill is in a pair of briefs and he's in a t-shirt. What we would probably do next is remove his t-shirt because that's going to provoke him. We typically do that in his room before we go into the shower and allow him some time then afterwards to calm down. So at this point, if Bill had a shirt on and we were in his room, we would take the shirt off, help him take the shirt off. He would probably become agitated, be aggressive, and then we would just disengage, wait a couple minutes, and come back in before we then transport him into the shower. The same is true for socks, by the way. Doffing socks for Bill can be really agitating, so we recommend taking shirt and socks off before you go into the shower, so that transition in the shower can be a little smoother. All right, so this part of the video, we're going to demonstrate completing a change with Bill for bladder incontinence, or how we would be. We're scheduled 4 times a day with 3 staff to complete a change with Bill, which at times might include bowel incontinence. We'll address that in a subsequent video, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to show a pretty straightforward change for bladder incontinence. So Bill would typically be seated in his chair with his belt on, with these pants, which are sort of really nice. They're like warm-up pants that have zip up the sides, which has created a tremendous benefit for Bill and for us in terms of safety and convenience in getting the change done. So the way we would start this is we would leave the belt on Bill. We would have a staff on either side prepared to, there's a point here where the zipper comes up and there's a tab for these pants. So I might be interacting with Bill, say, hey Bill, how you doing? As staff were stepping in on either side to unzip the pants and then also to rip the tabs, the sides of the briefs. Because what we want to set up here is so that when Bill stands up, when Bill stands, we can easily remove all of his soiled clothing and briefs. So now, we still haven't unbuckled Bill, because what we want to do next is we want to start with the new clothing that we're going to apply after the change. So I would be helping Bill. Let me say, be very careful when you're leaning down in front of Bill like this, because he's fully capable of kicking with both legs or leaning and striking. So we need staff here, and they typically have a posture like Kevin and Leslie do, one hand on Bill's hand, one hand on Bill's leg. But also the person doing this should, just be careful in terms of protecting yourself. So we're going to get these started on both feet. And then we have a second pair of pants here, same kind with the tabs and zips. I'm going to start those also. And again, if at any point Bill becomes agitated while the belt's on, we step away and give him time to calm and then re-engage and begin where we were in the procedure. All right, so we have Bill ready with new dry clothes. We have the soiled clothing prepared for removal. So at this point, I would step around and unbuckle the belt, and then we would support Bill to stand. Okay, all right, let's stand up. The staff person back here is going to be responsible for removing the brief, the pants, and the belt to get those all out of the way. And then between the three staff that are here, we're going to be pulling up Bill's new garments, clean garments here. And then this may also involve changing the belt because the belt that Bill had might be soiled or wet. So if that has to occur, we would be doing that at this point. And then we're going to sit Bill back down on the belt and re-secure the belt. All right. Perfect. And again, when you're securing the belt, it's typically the two staff on either side of Bill managing an arm and also grabbing one of the straps to give to the third staff, who's then in the back and able to secure the clip. Okay, so we're now in the bathroom with Bill, where we would have transported him following the enema routine that we completed in bed. And then you saw us at transfer earlier in the video from bed to chair after the bowel routine. We talked about the importance of removing his shirt and socks in his room and allowing him time to calm so we get a good safe transfer or transport rather in the shower chair to the bathroom. The other thing that I don't think I mentioned before was the briefs would have been removed after the administration, probably in the process of getting Bill into the chair from his bed. We don't remove the briefs prior to the administration because that can provoke Bill. So our nurse typically just pulls the back of the brief down to administer the enemas. Okay, so now we're in the bathroom. Bill is seated in the shower chair. If you can tell in the video, it's at a slight recline. The belt is secured. Bill would be fully disrobed so that we can complete the shower routine. We use a handheld shower. So typically for Bill, he likes pretty warm water. So I would be working from this side over here. I would have Kevin, staff on this side. And again, this is a 3-person routine. I would have Leslie in the back ready to help as needed. And I would be in here preparing to turn the water on and then walk Bill through this, which starts with kind of just having the water spray on his feet. And I'm letting him know verbally we're going to give him a shower. So, hey Bill, it's time for a shower. We're going to get you wet. So we allow the water to run on his feet a little bit. And then what I would do is I would typically reposition the shower head so that it can be on Bill's abdomen and lower chest. He really prefers that area. Sometimes we actually step away and give him a couple of minutes because he'll pull the water in his hands, and that's a good way to kind of keep him calm. After that, I would prompt Bill that I'm going to finish rinsing the rest of him off, so I might take the handheld and just do one arm at a time, or one leg at a time, just so that his whole, from his son's shoulders down are wet. Bill, if you have a handheld, Bill will try to take it from you. What we've seen him do when that occurs is he usually puts it in front of his face and just starts drinking all the water out of the shower head. So that's sometimes we just let him do that for a couple of minutes and then move on back to the routine. So once we've got Bill fully rinsed off, then I would use a long handle loofah and I'd be applying soap to that, and then I'd be stepping in front of Bill like this, being careful as Kevin and Leslie stepped in. As you can see, I'm careful with the legs, so I'm protecting myself and guarding as I'm scrubbing. And I'm changing over to this position and scrubbing here. And then we typically scrub from here. I'll switch with Kevin, go up an arm, see if Bill will comply with leaning forward, Bill, so I can scrub his back. Sometimes he's agitated and resistant, we don't get that completed. And then I would finally swing around, pop out, Liz, swing around on this side and complete the wash of this arm with the loofah. And then I would proceed to rinse Bill off with the shower head, using it this way, or again, allowing it to be stationary and kind of hit Bill in the mid-chest, upper abdomen area. And again, not rushing through it. If at any point Bill becomes really aggressive, tries to grab staff or items, we typically disengage and step away. As you can see in this setup, there's a little bit of a space issue, so we're looking to make sure Bill doesn't grab the grab bars, and then what we've seen him do in the past is he'll grab this bar and try to pull himself up in the chair, which is why we have the chair further back in the shower area so that he can't access that bar. So we would have him fully rinsed off, and then the next thing I would do is I would take the handheld and I'd be spraying it on the back of his neck, which is another spot that he likes. It can kind of tend to calm him down sometimes. And then I'd be trying to, again, Bill's receptive communication is really impaired, trying to alert him to let him know that we're going to, wash his hair. So the way I do that is I go from his lower neck, or his upper neck rather, up onto the back of his head, and sometimes he'll even tilt his head down, and I start to wet his head. Now I'm careful to not come completely in front too fast because Bill gets overwhelmed by the water rushing down the front of his face. So, I get his head wet, I use my hand to do that. I put the handheld back, and again, make sure it's hitting him in the mid-chest area, and then I apply some shampoo, and from back here, I'm scrubbing his head. And as needed, if Bill's upset, Leslie or Kevin can step into the sides and provide physical support. So I'd be scrubbing his head with a baby shampoo, and then the time when we're done doing that, step back out again, Les, please. Grab the washcloth. What we've used is a washcloth that we fold kind of this way and this way, and we have one staff member kind of place that against Bill's forehead while I would do the rinsing, so that the water doesn't rush down in front of his face. Now sometimes he'll fight against that, and we do the best we can. Other times he'll allow us to do that and really rinse his head good. As you'll come to see, there'll be some variability in how that goes, but that's how we try to get that part of the task done. Then once Bill's hair is rinsed and he's been fully rinsed off, because of the blue belt, I did want to make a comment. Because of the blue belt, covers Bill's entire groin area, sometimes the best we can do is get kind of soapy water in there, but there are times we always try, and sometimes he's compliant with allowing us to use a long handle loofah to scrub into his groin area, or he'll actually use his hands and do that. So we do put soap in there and try to get him good and clean. But that's also why the incontinence changes are important as well, to keep his skin intact. Okay, so we've got Bill all cleaned off now and rinsed off, and then I would proceed to turn off the shower, okay? And then I would move Bill's chair back a little bit in the bathroom so that we can begin drying him off. I'm not going to move the chair here because it'll disrupt the video, but I would get a towel. Again, Kevin and Leslie would be on either side, and I usually start from the front. And when I'm doing this, I have the towel like this in each hand, and I have one hand on the leg I'm not drying to protect myself, and the other one on the leg I am drying, and I'm drying Bill off, drying off his legs, upper thighs areas, and then I'm moving around to kind of work on his arms, and as needed, that other staff member is on the other side to prevent Bill from attempting to strike me. And then again, if Bill fall prompts, I'll have him lean forward so we can dry his back off. I usually allow him to take the towel and try to dry his front off, but I will also provide some assistance. And then I usually provide a tactile prompt. Bill, I'm going to dry your hair off, before I just go ahead and do that. Sometimes he'll grab the towel and throw it. Sometimes he'll grab the towel and try to dry himself off. All of that is, those are things that have happened. Once Bill's fully dried off, we usually lay a towel around his back. So if he were to lean forward, we would drape a towel around his back. We have a second towel typically. Usually we have 3 ready for the routine, but this other one, because of Bill's modesty, we usually place this other one over his lap. Even though the belt's there, we just give him a little additional coverage. And then we would wheel Bill out into his room, and then we would leave him in the belt momentarily, and we proceed to dress him like we did on the changing, which is to say that we would have Bill in the chair, we would have the belt still secure, and we would bring up the briefs, the clean briefs and the clean pants, and at the point at which those are ready, we then unhook the belt, have Bill stand with a person on either side, and then the third person pulls up the clean clothes. And then we have a dry belt ready to go that we put on the chair, sit Bill down, and then secure the belt. Okay, so here we're going to demonstrate using the Sarah Lift equipment which is typically used for transfer support for folks, but we've adapted it to use for Bill for bowel incontinence changes, and also as needed at times, toenail clipping by our RN, which we'll talk about at the very, very end. But what we really want to walk through here is how we use this to support a change if Bill's been bowel incontinent. So, and that would be known because Bill would be in his room, we would detect an odor, we might even come and kind of visually inspect a little bit under the brief and see that there's been a bowel movement, or at least a suspected one. So Bill would be in his room in his Brota chair with the belt on. We would wheel the Sarah lift into Bill's room and get that into position with the legs open on the Sarah so that we can approach it with Bill's chair. So we can go ahead and do that. Bring Bill's chair in. So as we're doing that, before we get Bill all strapped into here, one thing we would want to do is so Bill would have a pair of the zip up the side pants and obviously a soiled pair of briefs on. But what we want to do before we strap his legs in is we want to start a clean pair of briefs and a clean pair of pants and pull those up to about Bill's knees, which allows us to then strap him in to here at the shin rests. And then when we finish the change while Bill's still standing in the Sarah, we can then just pull up his clean clothing, which has saved us a lot of time, and it's a much safer way to do this part of the routine. So again, you would apply clean briefs and clean pants, and then you would bring Bill all the way in and strap in the legs as you would with a typical Sarah. Oh, jeez. Is that okay? You all right?
No.
It's very tight. Sorry, a little snug. Okay, so once we have Bill's, again, briefs and pants are up, we have Bill's shins locked in here, we're then gonna, we would undo the zipper sides of the pants and the tabs, okay? And then we would go ahead and get the harness. We still have Bill buckled in the safety belt. We would apply the harness. And again, it's good to have 3 people doing this because as I'm doing with the buckles, I might need Kevin's support to just keep an eye, and then Leslie's on the other side to make sure the Bill's not swinging too much or striking at me. And again, this is why we leave the safety belt on until the last minute, because if Bill gets really agitated, we step away from him. And then we come back and try to re-engage and do this in a safer, calmer way. Okay, so once the harness is in position, we're going to get the clips in place. And then it would be on time to undo the safety belt. And when you guys unclip the belt, we good? Okay, all right. So then we're going to go ahead now. Again, what we're going to have is we want Bill's hands up here in the grab bar. Sometimes we can just verbally prompt him and sort of physically assist him to do that. Sometimes we need to put a little more muscle into that to help his hand get there. But then we want Kevin and Leslie on either side of Bill hanging on so that he doesn't try to get his arms inside the harness. That would be the most unsafe thing that could happen here. And again, Bill might try to get his feet out there, but as we start to stand him, he'll weight bear a little bit, and that gets a little more difficult. Although he is able, when weight bearing, to lift up one of his feet completely, which is why these buckles and straps being pretty snug is important. Okay, so we're going to lift Bill up. Okay, now for Kevin and Leslie, this is a pretty good height because they can both do kind of a version of a CPI hold with an upper arm, lower arm grasp. And if I'm the person changing Bill, I can come behind him from here. I can make sure that I undo the tabs and undo the pants and get those out of the way like we showed in the shower routine, and then finish changing Bill or cleaning Bill. I can show you what it looks like standing up a little more. Okay. And then once I'm finished, completing changing Bill, I'm then ready right here to pull up clean briefs and clean pants. And then I would step back here, roll the chair in, and we would prepare the belt. If we need to change the belt, we would have done so. Now Bill's already got clean clothes up. We've got the soiled things out of the way. And I'm going to gently lower Bill back down. Close enough there? Lower Bill back down. And then we're going to, sorry, Kim. I forgot to reach in here to grab the belt. You want to make sure this belt's kind of up between the legs before you get everything unhooked, because we want to secure that next. So once we secure the belt, Bill's all the way down. Now we have him secure in the chair and the belt with clean briefs and pants on, and we can unbuckle the harness. Okay, and then again, being careful whenever you're leaning down in front of Bill, make sure you always know where his hand is as you're going down, even to do something as simple as this. And so make sure, oh, that side's good. Okay, and then Bill's in his chair, the belt's locked, the chair's locked, and we can disengage the Sarah lift. Oh, the part about toenails I forgot to point out, sorry, while we were in that, but we would have Bill in the Sarah lift before we did any of the, well, we wouldn't do this together with a change. We would only do toenails on their own. So we would put Bill in the Sarah as we just demonstrated. We would have one staff member on either side of him as the video shows, and then we would have our RN working down here, clipping his toenails while his legs are secured and snug into those shin rests. And that's been the safest way we've been able to accomplish basic toenail care.